The official fuel sponsors were National Oil, whose new dynamic image complements not only the safari, but all the rallies in the championship.
And being involved in an exciting event as the Safari Rally has just given a lot of impetus to that rebranding, that really we are re-energized and with a renewed focus.
Even in the wet conditions, drinking water was an absolute necessity, and providing this invaluable commodity were Highlands mineral water. Their naturally refreshing water and juices are made available at each rally in the season.
Highlands is the rehydrant choice for all the rally drivers and the participants. We'll be donating over 30,000 litres of water for the whole event.
The cars were now on the second loop of the stages, with Lee Rose and Piers Dakin running first on the road. And with the rain persisting throughout the day, the conditions continued to be a challenge. Whilst they were pushing hard, they were handed the rally lead when Alistair Kavanagh and Gavin Lawrence had this dramatic off. With so many spectators on the bend, it was fortunate that no one was injured. Kavanagh lost 5 minutes extracting the car, dropping them from first to third overall. But the extent of the damage would only be known once they reached service.
Unfortunately, a note just came up too late, too slow, and there was a very busy hairpin, lots of crowd, spectators ahead of us, and as I said, we came into it, I don't know, 160 probably, and there's no hope of braking at that speed.
With Kavanagh dropping back, Jamie White and Phil Arkinall moved up a place to second, only 13 seconds behind Lee Rose. They now had a commanding lead in the ARC category, over 30 minutes ahead of their nearest rival. Jas Mangat and Olivia McGank had been held back with mechanical problems, dropping from 4th to 9th overall, but were now lying second in the ARC race. Baldev Chaga and Raju Semi were now in 4th, and depending upon whether Kavanagh continued, this could become 3rd. Like so many others, Izzah Mirza and Zahir Shah had got stuck, and they dropped from 6th to 10th. With nearly everyone facing some form of problem, those having a consistent run were at an advantage, including Phineas Kimathi, who was making a return to rallying after a break of 8 years. Despite the long absence, he was soon into his stride, and together with Loris Ongalo, they were putting in impressive times, which placed them 5th overall. Also showing their potential were Galib Haji and Surinder Saddle. They were in 6th, and although Galib claimed to only be driving at a comfortable pace, it certainly wasn't slow. A clear windscreen on this event was imperative, and when the water spray got blocked on Peter Horsey and Moses Matovu's Evo 9, they welcomed the water splashes and the rain. They were forced to make regular stops to regain a clear view and were well out of place in 7th.
Our washer unfortunately had a little fault, so we lost a lot of time as well with bad visibility. So we were trying to hit puddles and everything, but because the cars are so well designed, not very much water sprays on the windscreen.
Olivia Costa from Rwanda, partnered by Andrew Doig, were in 8th. Their sole aim was to finish the event, and although they could have gone faster, they were pacing their rally to stay out of trouble. Lee Rose was the new rally leader with a margin of 13 seconds over Jamie White, with Alistair Kavanagh now in 3rd, over 2 minutes behind. The only other driver in contention was Baldev Chaga in 4th. As in all safaris, the attrition rate was high, and already 19 cars had dropped out. Others found themselves out of place on the leaderboard, overwhelmed by the demand of the event and the pressure the safari inflicts. For instance, past safari winner Azhar Anwar, who normally has an advantage in the wet, was making an uncharacteristic mistake. With Juliet Gige calling the notes, they were being so unlucky that they were in 13th.
You know,
if you're not focused and you're not on the pace, right on the edge, by the time you come out of the stage, you're like 2 minutes behind the fastest guy, just without even stopping. And that's what happened on the first 2 stages, and to pull that back is impossible.
In contrast, the rally could not have been going better for Alfir and Tinu Khan. They were pushing their older model Impreza to the limit, and if they'd been in the main event, they would have been lying 4th overall, but had to be content with leading the supplementary class. If you're wondering what happened to their bumper, keep watching. Assad and Salim Khan were yet another to be forced down the rankings when they got well and truly bogged down whilst attempting to get past another car. They were stopped for over 30 minutes, dropping to 10th overall, and would spend the rest of the event driving hard to recover it.
He had stopped into the road and we stopped, the wheels locked and went into the same ditch he went. So it took us 30 minutes to get out. Then we tried recovering something but couldn't. I'm not a good driver in mud, looks like.
Listen to the engine on Ian Duncan's pickup. The fuel pump was not behaving, and then they were forced to stop to repair a broken supercharger belt. The time lost pushed them to 2nd in the supplementary class. 3rd in the supplementary group was this modified Subaru N10 driven by Asad Anwar and Kashif Sheikh. The message on the car is an important one, which they hoped all the roadside spectators would concentrate on more than their driving. Amongst the classics were a host of veteran drivers whose safari experience dates back to the 1970s, and they were still driving cars of the same era. Leading the pack were Giancarlo Schiraldi and Nick Patel in one of the 3 Ford Escorts entered. It was tough going for the old cars, but for the locals, it's these cars that they all remember. The 3 Escorts were only separated by a minute, with Samit Gelot and Asid Patel in 2nd. In 3rd were Aslam Khan and Sophie Govani. Having not finished a local rally since last year, they were desperate to get to the end of this one. With stage 9 cancelled, there were only 3 stages remaining before the end of leg 1, commencing with a return to the Thika spectator section. Lee Rose and Piers Dakin were the first through, and having got through once, made it look easy the second time. They were quickest through the 3 stages, extending their lead to over 2 minutes. Jamie White and Phil Arconall held on to 2nd, but with the local drivers well settled in, were losing time to them on each stage. But it didn't matter, all they wanted was to win the ARC. Alistair Kavanagh and Gavin Lawrence had repaired their car, and it was back in good shape. They were once again on the attack and closed in on Jamie White, but could not match the pace being set by Rose. Baldev Chaga and Raju Semi held their breath as they attacked the water splash where they'd lost so much time earlier, but got through with no problem. Out in the coffee fields, they chased hard, and being nearly 8 minutes ahead of the car behind, decided not to take any risks that would jeopardize 4th place. Having fixed the water spray, Peter Horsey and Moses Botovo could at last drive at a competitive pace and immediately climbed 2 places on the leaderboard to settle into 5th. Phineas Kimavi and Norris Ungalo continued to prove that they had not lost any of their flair and only lost time to Horsey, which dropped them a place to 6th. After their earlier problems, Giancarlo De Vita and Silvio Wintervogel had put it all behind them and were back on form. On stage 8, they caught Olivia Costa, but there was no chance of overtaking and they remained behind to the end of the section. They climbed 8 places on the leaderboard, but were still 4th amongst the ARC contenders, which they would deal with on leg 2. The rally had reached the halfway point with Lee Rose in the lead by just over 2 minutes from Jamie White. The only change was that Peter Horsey had dislodged Phidias Kimathi for 5th. The unsung heroes of the rally were the service crews who kept the cars going no matter what the conditions.